When it comes to horse racing, you can never have too much information. With twinspires, you can place your bets with confidence, whether you use handicapping insights like our Brisnet speed ratings, prime power and past performances, the guidance of our experts' top picks, or just choose a name that catches your eye. Yes! No matter how you pick your horse, bet with twinspires. And now you can race to victory with twinspires tournaments.
Welcome to a special Breeders' Cup edition of the Racing Roundtable. I'm Ashley Anderson here with James Scully and Vance Hansen. Last night we had the post position draw at Del Mar, and we're going to talk about the winners and losers of that draw. We'll also look at the morning line favorites in 5 key races and whether we're buying or selling those favorites. And then we'll finally talk about horses or races that we're excited to watch or wager this coming weekend. Before we start, we also have a $10 money back offer at twinspires. You can get up to $10 back on your win bet if your horse finishes second or third in select races at the Breeders' Cup. So opt in at twinspires and read the T's and C's on that. But let's talk about the post-position, post-position draw. And Vance, I'll start with you. Did you have any takeaways? Are there any winners or losers from the draw in your opinion?
Well, I thought several of the expected heavy favorites for the weekend all drew pretty well. Lake Victoria in the Juvenile Fillies Turf, Cogburn with his outside draw in the Turf Sprint, and then Torpedo Anna in the Distaff. She'll break from post 2, and of course, as we all know, she likes to either show speed or get a pocket trip on the inside. So I thought all of them drew pretty well. In general, I'm not a big fan of making too much out of post positions. You can draw the best post position in the world, but if you break slow, if you get sideswiped, or if you just run into an unexpectedly biased racetrack, whether you had a good post or not isn't going to turn out very well. I think the one exception is I would be concerned about outside draw in the 3 turf races that we'll see this weekend over a mile. It's basically the 2-turn turf races. Now, we've only had 2 previous Breeders' Cups at Del Mar, and thus the sample size is pretty small. But inside posts in these 2-turn events have been quite preferred. We had Mendelssohn, Pizza, Bianca, and Modern Games all winning from post 1. We had Space Blues winning the mile from post 2. World Approval won the mile, and Wahida won the filly and mare turf from post 5. And really the only horse to break outside in these 1-mile turf races, or up to a mile and 1/8, was Rushing Fall in the Juvenile Fillies Turf. She broke from post 11. So I think the horses that could be negatively affected if this trend continues would include New Century, who's the morning line favorite in the Juvenile Turf, and then the 2 leading U.S. contenders in the mile, Johannes and Carl Spackler, also drew outside posts. So something to consider when you're looking at all these races this weekend.
Yeah, I'll say past performance. Like they say, past performance, best indicator of future success. And I agree with what Vance said about it's a small sample size, but I'm more concerned about horses breaking from inside posts in bulky fields that don't have some tactical ability, because reviewing the charts from 2017 to 2000 and in 2021, none of those horses were like deep closers. Modern Games was a big favorite, and he wasn't even pari-mutually in the race. So, we could talk about that. But Mendelssohn sat in up close third from the inside. One thing I saw for sure were horses from outside posts running well in either first or second at both events. I got post 12 through 14 producing like 4 or 5 winners. And I know that there were, like in 2017, there were several outside posts. Even last time they ran it, the Distaff came back like 10, 11. The turf, like top 5, there wasn't a number lower than 8 in the top 5. So, or even top 6. So all the horses breaking from post 1 to 7 didn't factor going a mile and a half on turf that last time they ran it. We saw Corniche win the mile in the 16th juvenile from post 11. To me, Post 14 may not seem ideal for next, but to me, he'll be just fine if he gets the right trip. That's a big concern surrounding him. The two horses I thought got hurt the worst by the post draw, because to me, they don't have the tactical ability, and they're going to get shuffled back, and good luck making your own trip from getting shuffled back. It's going to be Forever Young in the Classic. I give him no chance of winning drawing the rail. He's the slow starting type, and I expect him to be like 12th or 13th or 14th early. Another one, I'm more than willing, this Ramatouille, the French 3-year-old filly. I would have given her more consideration if she'd drawn outside, but I think she's in trouble from the rail in the Breeders' Cup Mile. So I thought those were the two draws that concerned me. I'm like zigging a little bit with everybody zagging, because like I said, horses I thought in the two previous editions at Del Mar ran really well from middle and outside post. Some of the sprint races had smaller sample sizes where they didn't even have 10 horse fields. So those races were mute from that. That would be more of a concern for me, is the 1-turn races with outside. But as far as the 2-turn races, I'm not too concerned about any of the horses drawn outside.
You mentioned Forever Young with the rail, and I looked at the classic, the history. We had to go all the way back to 2004 with Ghost Sapper for a winner that drew the rail post. And then as far as outside posts go, one overwhelming trend I found was in the juvenile fillies turf. We've had 8 winners that drew post 8 or higher that have won in the last, there's only been 16 runnings of this particular race. And then with the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, we've had gates 4 through 7 have produced 7 of the last 10 winners, and outside post had the other 3 winners in the last 10 years. So I'm looking at East Avenue, early pace setter type, speed right to the inside. And we'll talk about this in the next segment, but I'm not incredibly high on East Avenue here, and I actually kind of like Chancellor McPatrick from the outside, and Gaming, who is by a juvenile winner and game winner, who I actually like at a price right now in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. But let's talk a little bit more about these morning line favorites like East Avenue and move over to our buy or sell segment of the program. And we're going to talk about 5 races. And let's start with the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. So for this, I think I'll just, 1 or 2 sentences, buy or sell, and I'll have James, you'll kick off each of these, and just real quick, we'll go James, Vance, and me for each of these. So Breeders' Cup Juvenile, we've got East Avenue at 5-2 on the rail. James, buy or sell?
Buy. I mean, you referenced Ghost Sapper, he led wire to wire, and that's the way East Avenue's going. I mean, he doesn't break, then yeah, I mean, that could hurt any speed horse, but he breaks from the rail. I don't think they catch him, so I'm buying him.
Vance?
I think I will sell. He's going to encounter a lot more speed than he had in either of his 2 previous runs in Kentucky. He might be good enough to overcome that, but at this price, I'm selling.
I'm selling as well. Ghost Sapper won the Classic from the rail, but in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile in the last 10 runnings, we haven't had a runner from an inside post win in any of the last 10 runnings, so I am selling as well. Let's go to the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Our morning line favorite is Federal Judge at 3-1, and that's from post 3. So James, buy or sell?
I buy him from a multi-race perspective. The Sprint is the biggest what have you done for me lately race in there. The form over the first 6 months of the year is really sort of often irrelevant for these sprint runners. And I'm not letting some horse that just ran a huge race, got a huge number, and pounded his rivals like Federal Judge did in the Phoenix. He won't be off my multi-race horizontal wagers. But he's not going to be my top choice. So I'm buying him a little bit, but he's not my top choice, Vance.
Longtime viewers of the Roundtable will know that I have been supporting Mulligan for quite a while in this race, so Federal Judge is a sell for me.
I'm with James. I'm selling as far as win wagers and playing on top in exotics, but if you're playing horizontals, you got to include him, I think. And let's talk the Breeders' Cup Mile next. We have Notable Speech at 7-2, breaking from post 6, or drew post 6. And James, are you buying or selling this morning line favorite?
I'm selling him. I'm selling Notable Speech. Godolphin's 3-year run ends. I give him credit for running every other race pretty well, but I think he's vulnerable at Del Mar. I think I got Carl Spackler in the mile, and I like Johannes, and they'll be on all my tickets on top, Vance.
Not a standout favorite in this race for sure, but 7-2, based on what he has done in Europe on his best day, I think it's a fair price to take on him. So I'll buy.
I'm selling. His top winning mile time came 2 back, and it was 3 seconds slower than Johannes's winning time in the City of Hope mile. So I like Johannes and probably will play Carl Spackler. I think there's some longer prices too that have a chance in this race. So sell for me. And then let's go to the Breeders' Cup Turf. We have Rebels Romance at 5-2, already won this race in 2022. James, do you buy or sell?
He's a buy for me for the multi-race, and I'll work him in on some bets. I mean, I think he's a little bit undervalued, at 5-2, but I definitely respect his chances. So he's a Euro that I'll have on multi-race bets, Vance.
If he stays at 5-2, he's a certain buy for me. This has come up one of the weaker editions of the turf that I've seen in quite some time. His recent form lines stand out over almost anything else in the field. So 5-2, if you can get it, is a great price on this horse.
A buy for me as well. He is 4 for 5 this season and 9 for 12 at the distance of 1.5 miles on the turf. I like him here a lot. So yeah, we all three are buying on this morning line favorite. And finally, in the Breeders' Cup Classic, we have City of Troy at 5-2 from post 3. James, buy or sell?
I mean, I'm definitely buying him as a serious win contender. I'm going to search for a little bit of value in there. I got a couple others I'm sort of leaning towards, but I lack a real conviction in the Classic, and I definitely respect City of Troy. So if it's one or the other, I'll say buy.
Vance?
He's my top selection, lukewarm top selection in the Classic, but 5-2 is still a bit low. I don't think it's guaranteed that he's going to go off as the post-time favorite here. If he happens to drift up 3-1, maybe closer to 7-2, then I would definitely be a buyer of his. But 5-2, I'm going to straddle the fence a little bit on that, even though I do think he's probably the horse to beat.
I'm selling. I want to make him prove it to me on the dirt. He's never raced on the dirt. Aidan O'Brien hasn't won the Classic yet, so I'd rather try to play a longer price here in the Classic. And let's talk real quickly, too, because Fierceness is 3-1. On the morning line, Drew posts 9. I actually kind of like this spot for Fierceness. Do you all buy or sell? James, I think you already kind of said that you don't really like, Fierceness.
No, I'm buying him. I've got him in the same boat
okay.
with City of Troy. I'm going to use City of Troy and Fierceness and 2 other horses that are a little bit more value in that race. But to me, if he had drawn inside, it would have been Fierceness never a horse that's broken from inside post 6. You're putting him in post 1, 2, or 3 for the first time in the Classic. It would have been a problem potentially. I love the draw in post 9, and he'll be on my tickets.
Vance?
Yeah, I think post 9 works to his advantage, especially if you can work out a trip similar to the ones that he had at Saratoga. So that's good for him. Not sure. Still, even though he won the Travers narrowly, I'm still not necessarily convinced 1.25 miles is his very best distance. So, I mean, you're going to have to take 3-1, 5-2, 7-2, something like that on him, no matter what your opinion of him is.
One thing about him is he may need to let horses cross over and then get right to their outside because, I mean, to me, Arthur's Ride is the clear pace setter in the Breeders' Cup Classic. I mean, Bill Mott talked about it. They rode him aggressively in the Whitney. They didn't ride him aggressively. He ran a second slower in the opening splits in the Jockey Club. He said one time it worked, the other time it didn't. We're going to ride him like we did in the Whitney. He's the speed from the outside. And, Next is out there too. So there's definitely some speed outside of Fierceness in post 9.
I think I'm selling on both of those short price runners, but I do like Fierceness better than City of Troy. But I'm trying to play a bigger price. I even think maybe Newgate could be an interesting longer shot in this.
Newgate's my top choice, and I'll use Highland Falls too. I mean, Highland Falls has to get faster, but he is getting faster. So he's just got to take another forward step off of a real underappreciated effort in the Jockey Club Gold Cup. I love seeing Luis Saez on him. He's not going to be far back early.
He got a 126 class rating for that win last out. Highland Falls did, and that matches City of Troy's class rating. So, I mean, I think Highland Falls is a good play here too. And we'll see what kind of price we get because we're talking about 2 20-1 runners on the morning line right now. So, yeah, I'm excited to bet both of them and excited that you like them too, James. Don't lower the price for me, okay? All All right, let's talk about, aside from those horses that we're clearly excited to wager on, Vance, who are you excited to either wager on or watch, or what race in general has you intrigued?
Well, the Classic obviously is intriguing for the obvious reasons. We have America's best 3-year-old against Europe's best 3-year-old. But to me, the Mile is the most fascinating race of the weekend from a sporting and betting perspective. We have a strong European representation with notable Speech, Ramatuel, and Porta Fortuna, a really top trio. We've got some longer shots from Japan. And then several quality U.S. performers we've mentioned before: Carl Spackler, Johannes, More Than Looks. So, and it's also, I think it's positive that this field was capped at 12. Not an artificial cap, but that's how many were just actually entered. And rather than a full field of 14, we all hope that that might help reduce the chances of poor trips or hard luck stories. So hopefully we'll get a truly run race and find out who perhaps the world's best miler is on Saturday.
James, what about you?
To me, this is the most anticipated Breeders' Cup Classic in the last 20 years. I'm absolutely enthralled by this international participation, not only with City of Troy and Forever Young, but we even got the Ushba Tesoro and Derma Sadagake in the field. Got 4 international runners. They're all like Group 1 winning type horses, and 2 of them are 2 of the best runners in the world. To me, it's like you got to go back to maybe 2001 when you had Saki and Galileo and some others coming out. Or I don't know if Galileo was in that race, Vance. You might have it, but at least the Saki Tiz now, and a lot of that happened because of the way they finished. But that was a truly international showcase in the stretch of the Classic, and we've got that potential again this year. I'm a little bit intrigued by the sprint. I don't know if it's the deepest group of sprinters ever, but I mean, to me, outside of maybe Nakatomi, all the contenders want the lead. So it's going to be interesting to see how that race shakes up front. And then as far as betting goes, wagering, I'm all in on the Mile. I'm going to let the international runners, they're going to take a lot of money. So that's a good place for me to zig when they zag. I got Carl Spackler and Johannes. And if anybody else besides those 2 win, I lose. So that's one race I'm really excited to wager.
We also have Aidan O'Brien's son with Porta Fortuna in that race, and he's only 21 years old. He could tie his brother for the record for youngest trainer to win a Breeders' Cup race. A little fun.
Yeah, it'd be like if father, son, and son. I mean, it was already unprecedented when Joseph did it. Now it's just adding to it.
And I will mention the Breeders' Cup distaff. We had Idiomatic and Adair Manor retire ahead of the Breeders' Cup, and it kind of made the distaff a little bit less exciting. Torpedo Anna could be horse of the year and, 4 to 5 on the morning line. But I'm interested and excited to see what Awesome Result does. This is a filly who is representing Japan, and by Justify, unbeaten from 7 starts, coming off a 5-length win at 1.25 miles in Japan. She won her first 3 career starts racing at the distance of the distaff at 1 1/8 miles. And, Japan got their first win in the distaff at Del Mar in 2021 with Marsh Lorraine, who was a much bigger price than you're going to get on Awesome Result. But I'm excited to see if maybe we get a slight upset of Torpedo Anna in this race.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Awesome Result because, definitely the Japanese have some good turf runners in there, but they've got 2, to me, serious dirt horses with Forever Young and Awesome Result. And Awesome Result, to me, has the best chance probably of an upset of an odds-on favorite in the thing. So it's really intriguing to see if she can run up to expectations. I'm definitely going to have her on all my tickets because I do think she's dangerous.
We've also got American Bikini and the juvenile fillies by American Pharaoh representing Japan, and has a big win not on debut, breaking her maiden in her second start.
The other thing with Awesome Result, I was glad you brought up, was that Justify angle, because if City of Troy and Awesome Result win the distaff and the Classic, there's no there's the ads that are going to be coming out for Justify are going to be like greatest sire of all time,
Yeah.
It just would be an incredible accomplishment for him to sire these two international runners, come over and win our two biggest dirt races.
Yeah, imagine that stud fee going forward. Well, that's all the time we have for the Racing Roundtable. Again, check out that $10 money back offer at twinspires. Again, if your horse finishes second or third in select races at Del Mar this weekend, you get up to $10 back. And we'll be back next Tuesday to recap all of the Breeders' Cup. So best of luck this weekend, and we'll see you next week.
When it comes to horse racing, you can never have too much information. With twinspires, you can place your bets with confidence, whether you use handicapping insights like our Brisnet speed ratings, prime power and past performances, the guidance of our experts' top picks, or just choose a name that catches your eye. Yes! No matter how you pick your horse, bet with twinspires. And now you can race to victory with twinspires tournaments.